Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Hollywood After Dark. It is Sunday, April 28th, 2024. Am I wrong? The other day I asked the question, are movie theaters dead? Are they dying? It appears I could be wrong, folks, because they're kind of thriving right now. These movies on the screen are doing great. Kung Fu Panda 4, Dune, Godzilla. Talking about that, a whole bunch more. Hollywood After Dark. You know what time it is. Let's have and go. Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Welcome back to the show. It is, of course, a very special Sunday edition. I have time before I go to work today. There's stuff I want to talk about, stuff that's obviously going to be replaced when we get into the week and we start to get all the news as it starts coming out. But, of course, this is Sunday. This is a nice day to go see a movie. If you live in Washington like I do, it's mostly cloudy. It's kind of rainy, kind of drizzly, kind of icky is the best way I can describe it out there. So why not go see a movie? Why not go see a movie? You know, I was talking with a passenger yesterday as I was taking him home, and it was an elderly couple, and they told me they don't go see movies anymore because why would they? Right? The movies come out like the next day on home video. Why don't they just wait for that to happen? And that, of course, is something that Hollywood has to contend with, and we are going to get into that. But first things first, guys, I want to float an idea past you, okay? One of the things I want to do to kind of bolster out the Hollywood After Dark premium program, the Hwad Squad, is a great way to help support the channel if you want to. And one of the things I want to do is start doing Tubi Tuesdays. Now, Tubi, if you don't know, is a fantastic free streaming platform for us to watch a wide variety of films. Good, bad, super bad, everything in between. I love Tubi. It's absolutely free. Nearly 70 million monthly active users on that site. A lot of people watch Tubi. So I want to do that on Tuesdays because I know I have that day off of work, and we can do a live stream Hollywood After Dark and then go over to a private stream where we will watch a movie on Tubi. And of course, that is going to be for channel members and Patreon members. And then the audio from that will be able to go up on the Patreon for those who want to listen and watch on their own after the fact. And I think that's a great way to kind of build out the community of people who want to support the channel. And so we'll start that this week. So if you want, become a channel member or go to patreon.com/MattJarbo to be able to do all that. And I'll figure out a way to do the audio for those who are just channel members as well. So we'll make that work. I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, I want to introduce a little thing we're going to do at the end of the show. For those of you who listen to the end of the show, it's this or that, where I'm going to be pitting two movies against each other, and I want you in the comments section to, of course, let us know. And yes, Patio Commentary is coming back. Looking at movies to watch right now. Gonna pick one tonight. Gonna watch it tomorrow. Trust me, my car's broke down. I've got to take my cat to go get spayed. I got a lot of downtime. I'm gonna watch a movie, and of course, I'm gonna talk about it. So yeah, there's a lot going on with Hollywood After Dark right now, and it's a good time to get in on the ground floor of what is hopefully going to be a very, very, very big community of people out there who love straight, honest movie coverage, movie news coverage. That's from a perspective of loving movies, loving the industry, loving everything about storytelling, and not going to ply you with nonsense and BS and everything else. But yeah, I am going to talk about artificial intelligence when that does happen. But we talk more about that on Boulder Talk Radio. So keep an eye out for that, especially if you're on Twitter. If you're watching this in any other platform, listening to the audio podcast, be sure to follow me on Twitter at mjarbo. I know Twitter sucks, but it's a good platform to keep in touch. Maybe I'll get a Tumblr. Who knows, folks? One's in the chat. If I should get a Tumblr. But here's something I want to touch upon real quick. I want to talk about this question that was posed to me the other day. Are raunchy comedies ever going to come back? Like in the way that they were way back when I was a kid, right? Or when I was younger. Now we got to think about this. Raunchy comedies have always kind of existed for a while. You know, you had like Animal House style comedies in the 70s. You had Porky's style comedies. Revenge of the Nerds style comedies of the 80s, a lot more sexually explicit, borderline rapey, actually, in some cases, like Revenge of the Nerds. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I love that movie. That scene does not hold up at all. And there's a lot in that movie that just does not hold up at all. But that, of course, is just a society that we find ourselves in right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, but back then it was deemed as more accessible. Then you look at raunchy comedies of the 90s, especially towards the end of the 90s with American Pie. That was a seminal moment for me because this movie was about high schoolers trying to lose their virginity. I was a high schooler who also often thought about losing his virginity. And so it was just like a big thing. And then you get into the early 2000s and, you know, you get stuff like The Hangover towards the end. And that was kind of big and that was raunchy. You get movies like Sex Drive. I think that was in 2008. That was pretty funny. And then it seems like there's like the big hit of like, you know, the Seth Rogen, James Franco type comedies that are obviously more adult, aimed for that millennial crowd. And now it almost feels like they're kind of few and far between, right? But Anyone But You came out recently. That's an adaptation of a Shakespearean play. It's a good movie. It's raunchy. Not as raunchy as it could have been, but it's got enough raunch to be really funny and some compelling performances from Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. I thought the movie was really funny. I just watched Strays recently. Again, a movie that the trailer for that kind of was like a little bit like, okay, the movie's hysterical, very raunchy. But I was a little turned off after I saw the trailer for Cocaine Bear and how Cocaine Bear was so good. The trailer was amazing. Movie was garbage. And I was a little concerned about Strays. Thankfully, my mind was put at ease after I watched it. But are we ever going to get the hardcore raunch movie to ever come back to theaters and do very well? Is it going to be able to resonate with the younger crowd who are going to want to go see it multiple times over? Because that is how these things work, right? So when The Hangover came out in 2009, I remember going to see it opening day with my girlfriend, laughing all the way through. That end credit sequence was just, it is still top tier, God tier comedy. When they start showing all the photos from the night on the camera, that was to you know, was it Pitbull? No, Flo Rida's Right Round, okay? A song I still listen to this day. And then you get The Hangover Part 2 that comes out a couple years later. And I was living in LA at that time. The AMC 16 in Burbank had 8 of its theaters sold out for the midnight show of that movie, right? I was there. It was massive. It was huge. People wanted to see that movie. And they were talking about doing Hangover 4 after that because Hangover 3 was already greenlit and already being worked on. And they were talking about greenlighting Hangover 4, 5, and whatever because of the popularity of that movie. Then number 3 was very kind of different. Still good, but just not what you would expect. It went way dark, which I kind of enjoyed. And I kind of paved the way for Todd Phillips to do Joker, which obviously is an Oscar-winning movie and a billion-dollar hit and a cultural phenomenon, if you will. So things along those lines. But when we think about movies being raunchy, it's like, you know, look at Netflix. A lot of the cartoons are raunchy. I had a passenger in the other day who had a ringtone of George Jetson, right? Like doon, 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 doon. And I was like, oh, the Jetsons, man. And, you know, and this guy was a little older and he's all like, yeah, I love the Jetsons. I can't watch cartoons anymore because they're too raunchy. And I'm like, have you tried Bluey, sir? You should check that out. Enjoy Bluey. But I get it, though. A lot of the cartoons are raunchy because they're aimed for adults. You know, look at Big Mouth, Human Resources, F is for Family, Paradise PD, a ton of the other South Park, you know, Family Guy, American Dad. I mean, Futurama's definitely not. They never went down the full raunch. Even when they went to Comedy Central and they could expand, they never did. My whole point, though, is that, like, are we ever going to be able to have those kind of comedies or people are going to flock to the theater again? We get a little bit of that on streaming, but I don't feel they have as much. And it might require something like the sex appeal of Anyone But You. Look at like Challengers just came out this week, right? That's got a sexually charged movie. Saltburn apparently has something to do with licking cum off of a bathtub. And people are calling that sexually charged. I saw a headline today. Sexually charged movies are back. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like Anyone But You is a sexually charged raunchy comedy with good chemistry between Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. And that helps sell that movie, and that did really well because you got to appeal to both sexes, right? Rom-coms are power fantasies for men more than they are for women. And I'll go into that at a later date, but that is very true. They are very much like that. They're power fantasies for both in different ways, but believe me, the power fantasy for the man is very much apparent, albeit entirely subversive. And like, no one ever wants to talk about that, okay? No one ever wants to talk about that, but I'll give you guys a hint. At the end, the guy gets the girl, okay? the good guy, the nice guy, the guy that a lot of dudes kind of put themselves in the position of when they're watching that, the perspective of that character gets the girl. Gee, is that a power fantasy or what, guys? Why do you go to strip clubs? Okay, I'm just going to okay, you go to strip clubs because you get to choose. That's the power fantasy of a strip club. You're not having or going to a brothel is you get to find whatever attracts you, and then you get that, right? Sure, it's not real. It's all bought and paid for. It's capitalism, but still, that's the fantasy. Rom-coms are kind of like that. Believe me, you'll trust me more. You'll understand it more the older you get. But I think raunchy comedy should come back. I think they should absolutely give us something akin to Porky's again. Animal House, like bring it back, man. Bring it back. Put it out there. Low budget, $20 million comedies. Let them make their money back. People want to see them. Get people talking about them. Be good, be funny, be character driven, grounded, raunchy comedies. Okay. I think that's one of the reasons why Adam Sandler kind of like falters every once in a while, because the dude's a great actor, but he does these very, slapstick type comedies that I love. But then you get something like, what was the one? 50 First Dates, for example, I think was kind of his first time. That and Wedding Singer. Every time he works for Drew Barrymore, it's more of a grounded, there's some slapstick, but it's a very endearing comedy. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's as iconic as it is. We just need more of that. Okay. But when we talk about the movies, let's talk about the box office here, moving on to getting into the stories of the day. The Numbers has put out the domestic box office chart for April 26, 2024. And not surprisingly, Zendaya's Challengers opens up number one at $15 million, playing in 3,477 theaters, followed by Unsung Hero by Lionsgate. I'm not even too sure what this movie is. I haven't even heard of this one. What's Unsung Heroes? This is for King and Country Film. It's a God film, folks. It's a God film. God films, Christian movies do well. I'm telling you guys, like, if you are an aspiring filmmaker and you're like, I just want to make movies and make money, make Christian propaganda. My God, you will make money. Followed up number 3, Warner Brothers, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, 7.2 million. Followed up by Civil War, dropping from number 1 to number 4 with $7 million, 38% drop from this week to last. What's crazy about that, though, is it did 17% of its money came from large screens, right? So that's where it's making a fair amount of money. Abigail, number 5, that was number 2 last week. That dropped off. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is dropping off as well. Kung Fu Panda 4, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Doom Part 2. And then, of course, you got down here, number 10, Boy Kills World, 1.6 million. People are going after it, too. They're going after it. Like, it's crazy, man. They're just like, oh, this movie called Boy Kills World, it's weird, it's subversive, it's violent, and yet people are like, oh, it died at the theater, man. It just died at the theater. Like, whatever, guys. Then also, you're looking at Alien. Got re-released, 1.5 million for that. The Mummy, 1 million. Monkey Man, 1.1. I mean, and that just hit PVOD as well. So there's movies out there to go see, right? There are movies out there to go see, which is one of the reasons why I was kind of maybe wrong in my assessment. Because if you look here, right, you see here, Dune just crossed $700 million at the worldwide box office. Good for Dune. Dune 2, also a lot of large premium screens went to that as well. Okay. And then you've also got, Godzilla X Kong here, crosses $500 million at the worldwide box office. Budget was $135 million. I don't know what the budget for Dune was. It was quite a bit. But then you look over here, Kung Fu Panda 4 hit $500 million at the worldwide box office, $85 million budget. Obviously, these movies are pulling in some cash. They're making themselves some money, which is very, very, very good. Now, granted, 2 of those are Warner Brothers who absolutely need it. And then, obviously DreamWorks, it will bring out people because people just like going to DreamWorks movies. I think that's pretty much, whatever. And whatever. People enjoy it. They like going to those films. I think one of the key things when I look at these kind of numbers is I'm like, look, you figure this is coming out in March and April. Okay. And it's during springtime. People, are still rainy in some places. They want to see these movies. And these are kind of like opening salvos for what's going to happen during the summer. But even looking at what's going to be coming out during this summer, after The Fall Guy, which opens up next week, which is supposedly going to do very well, I don't quite know, up until Deadpool 3, is anything really going to Inside Out 2 might do well. I got to go look to see even what's coming. That's how far removed I am from what's coming out, directly. It's crazy to me that's kind of where we are right now with this stuff. And I feel bad, to be honest with you, because it's just like, holy crap, right? I should know what's going on here. But I don't all the time. I'm learning with you guys, to be fair. I gotta dive back in. I took a couple months off. I'm a little bit behind, but what kind of shocked me was the fact that Kraven the Hunter will now come out December 13th, 2024. They pushed the movie back by a whopping, 6 months? Somewhere in there. It was set to come out at some point, right? It was it was going to be soon, and then they moved it all the way back. There's a couple of reasons for this, by the way. So we have to remember there's a couple of reasons why Kraven the Hunter got moved back. And a big one is Madam Web. Madam Web did not set the stage well for Kraven. That movie coming out when it did, it just dropping when it did, bombing when it did, dying when it did. I mean, we know that Sydney Sweeney only did the movie in order to be able to work a good deal with Sony, so she could then get them to do Anyone But You, which she was a producer on. I think Immaculate, they might have done as well. She was a producer on that. She used it as a business advantage to her, whereas Dakota Johnson's I was just cast in a movie sort of thing. And it's just, yeah, it's not great. It's not great, guys. Sony doesn't know what to do. They just don't know what to do. And I think they're pushing back Kraven in order to kind of space it out a little bit more. Never mind the fact that, look, even right now, looking at what's in the box office right now, what's in theaters right now, Dune, Kung Fu Panda, Godzilla X Kong, right? 3 movies that have done well are all sequels, are part of a franchise. So it's not like these movies are brand new IPs. And even Kraven isn't a quote unquote brand new IP, but it is a brand new character in movies. So for that, and a new IP for that. Aaron Taylor Johnson's great. The movie looks violent as hell. That's why I want to see it. But at the same time, we have to remember that this is just this is Sony doing what Sony does, which is, never anything good. Okay. But let's talk about something good, because I do want there to be something to get hyped about, something to get excited about. And that is, Joe Russo has confirmed that he'll be returning to write the screenplay for Extraction 3, starring Chris Hemsworth, saying we're developing it at the moment, figuring out Chris's schedule. Sam Hargrave is back directing. And folks, oh my God, I wish I had do I have the cheer? Do I have the cheer drop, guys? I don't. Here we go. Here we go. Woo! Yeah, baby. Woo! Woo! Look, I'm going to be... if you have not seen the Extraction movies, you are missing out. Out of all the Netflix original content, a lot of it is not the best stuff in the world. Extraction 1 and Extraction 2, freaking amazing. Number 2, I think, is actually better than number 1. Chris Hemsworth gives a great performance. In number 2, there's a 21-minute single, quote unquote, single take action sequence. It's not, you can tell, but man, is it thrilling. The violence is crazy. The kills are crazy. It's got some good, guest stars in the movie and whatnot. And they're opening up the world, and it's awesome. I can't recommend it enough, to be honest with you. And so if you are like me and you love good action movies, yes, absolutely yes, Extraction is for you. You also found out that, if I can find my thing here, I might have accidentally not brought it up. I didn't. Okay, obviously. We are finding out also that the Russo brothers are waiting for Guy Ritchie to give them a script for the Hercules live action movie that they're going to be developing for Disney. So yay on that, I guess. I don't quite know. But let's talk about some James Gunn news, because it's never not a fun time to watch James Gunn debunk morons. You know what I mean? So here we go. Coming in from Heroic Hollywood, DC Studios co-head James Gunn shuts down weird Henry Cavill Superman accusations. I don't know why. Look, I know that Snyder fans, all right, they don't understand that it's over. They don't get that it's over. They don't get it, right? They think that it's entirely, going to continue on, even though every indicator in the world has proven them wrong. I mean, I've never seen a group of people get proven wrong more times and keep going. I mean, well, outside of Republicans, but that's not the point. Anyway, here's what we know. James Gunn, the co-head of DC Studios, has directly addressed a fan's weird accusation of lying about his intentions for Superman when he was first hired by Warner Brothers. The fan suggested a conspiracy theory that Gunn always planned to reboot the DC universe and make his own Superman movie after completing the Suicide Squad, thereby screwing over Henry Cavill's portrayal of the Man of Steel. A fan asked, I'm going to infer that the "we were lied to" angle is regarding a popular conspiracy theory that you were always planning on rebooting and making your own Superman movie when you first got hired by Warner Brothers and finished the Suicide Squad, hence intending to always screw over Cavill and lying to the fans, since you said you had at the time no interest in running DC and didn't want to make a Superman movie. Now, what you have to remember about this is that James Gunn was approached by Warner Brothers in the summer of 2018 following his firing, unceremonious, the terrible firing from Disney. And they wanted him to do a Superman movie. Imagine that, right? The tweets, the spicy, muy caliente tweets that he had put out there that was what people were, they're freaking out about. And then like, hey, come tackle this Boy Scout. But Gunn didn't want to do it. He wasn't in the right place to do it. He wasn't in the right place. He didn't want to do it then. But then he figured out apparently how to do it. And like Walter Hamada wanted him to do it and all this stuff. And I don't know, man, but like, that's kind of what it was, is he just didn't want to do it. So here we go. Gunn says, I don't quite understand how that fits. Aside from the fact I had no interest in running DC until Peter decided to do it with me so he could focus on the exec stuff and I could focus on the creative. When I was hired to write Superman, it was always intended as and pitched as a new Superman story. So why would I lie about not planning that at the start, or that at the squad premiere, which would have amounted to the same thing at the end of the day? How does this particular conspiracy theory make any sense? Well, the idea there is that it doesn't make any sense if you don't know the lore. If you know the lore of what's going on with this situation, then you understand how it all plays out. And that's kind of the thing. James, I will say this here. Gunn is being a little bit obtuse. He's being a little bit defective, a little bit deflective. And I understand that. Why, whatever. What you have to remember, we have to go back all the way to the summer of 2022. So about a week before Comic-Con, we knew that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was going to be at SDCC Hall H promoting Black Adam. That the Man in Black, the anti-hero himself, coming to Hall H, right? And then a rumor got out there. A little rumor floated itself out to the internet that maybe, potentially, could it be Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman, and that was going to be announced at the Black Adam panel in Hall H. And that got people talking. That kicked off a powder keg I hadn't seen in a while, and quite frankly, a powder keg I haven't seen since. And when it came time to the Black Adam panel, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was overshadowed by this rumor that, in my personal opinion, his team absolutely put out there. That's my allegation. And I think if you look at everything, I think he wanted to build the hype. Black Adam is the epitome of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's ego, and also the basically his downfall of being in any kind of genre stuff at this point in time. We all know that. I've covered The Rock's career. It's like live on stream multiple times. I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he is not what you would consider to be a movie star. He is definitely an entertainer, a celebrity, a highest paid actor in the world, but he's not a movie star. And if you look at the box office returns of his movies that aren't part of an ensemble that he didn't go into, right? Then my point is proven completely. He usually taps out at about $400 million worldwide for most of his movies. And believe it or not, that's even where Black Adam ended up. So I was definitely right, baby. Jarbo Damas strikes again, folks. Jarbo Damas strikes again. Yeah, I'm going to be a little egotistical because when I said The Rock wasn't a movie star, I had people up my dick hole, like coming out of the woodworks to like debate me on every aspect of it. And here it is years later, and I was right. Because I pay attention and I'm not running at this through fifis. I'm talking to you guys about facts and logic and details and what we can get our hands on the internet. That being said, the Henry Cavill thing fizzled out. The Rock got quote unquote booed at Comic-Con about it, which didn't happen. It was like, it wasn't like a boo. It was like a groan, a moan, a bemoaning, right? It wasn't a boo. It was like like whatever. Anyway. Then, of course, we get the Black Adam post-credit scene. And then Henry Cavill comes out and he says, I'm back. I'm back, right? And you're like, oh my God, they did it. They restored it. Holy crap. And then like 2 days later, you find out that no, James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking over DC Studios. Walter Hamada is out. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not in control anymore. Henry Cavill is out. The whole thing changes. And it just sours everybody on it. So that's what the conspiracy theory is. Although if you're part of my audience, you know this already because we've covered it when it was happening. We covered it all the time. We know exactly how it all played out. It's just kind of sad, folks. It is really sad, but it is, of course, the industry. The industry kind of sucks sometimes. But what we do know, moving into something else that hopefully will be happening, but I don't really have much hope. Jessica Roth shares Happy Death Day 3 update. We just need to wait for Blumhouse and Universal to get their ducks in a row. Now, this is a franchise I've heard a lot of really good things about. I haven't seen it, to be honest with you. Blumhouse, though, in my opinion, is not doing well at the moment, okay? Imaginary kind of crashed and burned. Night Swim was an abomination unto Christ, is what I've been told. You know, the recent Megan a year ago wasn't even that great. They've really like, you know, Five Nights at Freddy was like their biggest hit of 2023, and it was a fun movie. But still, it was like I don't know if Jason Blum has just been spreading himself too thin. I follow him on social media. He seems like a really swell, upstanding dude, but he seems more interested now in like the celebrity of what he does versus the actual filmmaking. Because this is a company that got itself grounded as like the low budget horror company that was able to make interesting, compelling horror films for a minimal amount of money and then put it out there and they would make all their money back. And maybe they just spread themselves too thin. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Bloom teamed up with Atomic Monster, with James Wan, because James Wan is a master of horror, master of storytelling in the low budget space. And I think that's where he likes to be, you know, even though he did Aquaman and Aquaman 2 and Fast and Furious 7. He's got $2 billion films under his belt. You know what I mean? So like the guy knows it, but I just think Blumhouse has just kind of been a little bit on the side recently. But if we take a look here at Happy Death Day, just looking at the numbers, all right, it did pretty well. It did a worldwide box office of 125 million, and it did about 4 million, almost 5 million sales, just domestically on home video when that came out in 2017. All right. Now, do we have the full financials here? I don't know if we have what the budget of it was, but you know, production budget was $5 million. There we go. $5 million. Worldwide box office was 25 times the production budget. 25 times the production budget. This movie made a lot of money. Come over here to Happy Death Day number 2. Okay. Didn't have as big of a hit. Okay. I mean, it was definitely halved. 125 million, 64 million for this one. It was half, right? A little more than half what it made, but still it did half on home video sales, but this is also 2019. Digital was a big thing. Okay. And its budget was $9 million. So its worldwide box office was 7.2 times the amount, meaning it didn't make as much money. It didn't make as much money overall, but still $9 million on a $64 million take home is still really, really, really good. So if they're just waiting right now for Universal and Blumhouse to get their ducks in a row, you know, it's kind of crazy. So here's what she says. If I could get it on the right page, that'd be great. So in an interview while promoting her new film, Boy Kills World, Roth shared that director Chris Landon had an idea for the third film in the saga. It says, I can say Chris Landon has the whole thing figured out. Roth told Screen Geek, we just need to wait for Blumhouse and Universal to get their ducks in a row, but my fingers are crossed. She continued, I think Tree Gelbman deserves a third and final chapter, third and final chapter to bring that incredible character and franchise to a close or a new beginning. So it's like, yeah, I mean, in 2020, Christopher Landon told Empire that the title for the third film was Happy Death Day to Us and everything else. So it's kind of like, look, they could easily finish out this franchise, easily finish out this story and probably make some money at it. But at the same time, we are in such a risk-averse setting for the theater now that it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. You know what I mean? It's very sad that we're not in that space where we could be making really interesting films, even if they're horror, even if they're whatever, you know, lower budget and make a better return on your investment. For some reason, they're against this. For some reason, they're afraid of this. For some reason, they don't want to do this. I don't quite know why. This is just how it is, apparently. How it is. I don't get it. But finally today, I want to touch upon something fun. Due to the success of Fallout, the television show, apparently physical copies of Fallout 4 are sold out almost everywhere due to the show's popularity. So, you got to love the cast. You got to love the show. You got to love what they've done with it. Fallout is at peak mainstream hype. Mainstream hype. It's here. Fallout 4 just got the new update the other day. It's got some jank. It's got Bethesda jank. If you know Bethesda, you know Bethesda's always got the jank. I'm playing through New Vegas right now. I'm about 25 hours in. I get in where I can. I thought to myself, I'm just going to go through the main story. No, I'm having too much fun, man. I'm having too much fun wandering the wasteland because you got to love it. You got to love all that. So let's get into the final little bit of the night, guys. This is the debate I want to see from you in the comment section. Whether this is in the stream chat or whether it is on the YouTube comment section. This or that. Speed versus Air Force One. Which movie do you prefer and why? For me, it's a tough one, guys. It's an absolute tough one. I'm going to have to go probably with Speed. Okay? Now listen. Harrison Ford, Air Force One, Wolfgang Peterson, Gary Oldman in one of his better villain roles. Outside of like Zurg from Fifth Element and whatnot, right? Or, Hannibal. He was brilliantly creepy in Hannibal. But either way, though, no, Gary Oldman in Air Force One, awesome, right? Harrison Ford, get off my plane. Awesome. Gotta love it. But Speed, baby. Speed. That movie, peak Keanu. Peak Keanu. Introduced us to Sandra Bullock. Gave us the line pop quiz hot shot, which has been seen throughout, movie history. It's iconic at this point. So I leave it to you folks. What do you think? What's better, this or that, right? Speed, Air Force One, let me know down in the comments. Be sure to come back Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, live stream, Hollywood After Dark, followed up by Tubi Tuesdays. Don't know what the movie's going to be. If you got any suggestions for a good schlocky film to watch on Tubi, or maybe a good movie to watch on Tubi, we will give it a watch, folks. It's a new age, a new dawn here at Hollywood After Dark. And I really appreciate everybody taking part in it, right? Remember, folks, this is all part of the Jizz Network, Jarbo's Intimate Zesty Zings. That's an old one here if you happen to be a fan of the show. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for another episode of Hollywood After Dark, Monday edition. Have yourself a great day, everybody. Thank you again for watching. Remember, folks, tip your waiter, tip your waitress. We're here all the time. And remember, it's not Hollywood till it's Hollywood After Dark, folks. Woo! All right, see ya.